My name is Leo Connors, and welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. Tonight, I got two special guests. I got a guest co-host, David Fournier, and my guest is Mr. John Cena Sr.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming on again.
Thanks
Good to
for
see you,
having
Leo.
me.
Good to see you, John.
Good to see you, Dave. Thank you, Leo. It's a pleasure, always.
yes.
John's here fresh off of screwing over Brett Goslin this weekend, I heard.
Oh, I did a good job on Brett Goslin. You mean Justin Bieber?
Oh, is that what you call it?
Justin Bieber. Yeah, the man who said I couldn't defeat him. I took a lot of crap from this kid, but I finally found the one person to take the strap.
Now, and who was that?
The innovator of violence, the heart and soul of ECW, the heart and soul of professional wrestling, none other than Tommy Dreamer.
That's awesome. I love Tommy.
And I'll tell you what, when I made that announcement in front of Justin Bieber, he turned white.
Yeah.
I mean, no way, I'm not wrestling. Oh, yes, you are. And so he took the belt that night.
Yes.
That's awesome. Now, was that live pro wrestling?
That was Live Pro Wrestling, Teddy Goods.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's doing amazing things
Teddy
with that.
runs a great promotion.
He does.
There is so much talent in there. Everybody there is just super to work with.
Right.
I'll tell you, I've been in a lot of locker rooms. This is a locker room of family and friends.
Nice.
There's no superstars.
Yep.
Everybody is just equal. We got Little Me and Kathleen in there, Channing Thomas,
Yeah.
Mr. Acapella, Teddy Goods. So we just have a great, and Ichiban,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that man
that
is
kid,
amazing.
yeah. He just won the Shane Shamrock Cup for the MCW Wrestling, Maryland Championship Wrestling.
Amazing. So it's great. I am really humbled and honored to be part of Live Pro Wrestling as their commissioner. It's
That's
really
awesome.
fun. Once in a while, I still do the FU for him.
Yeah. All right, well, listen, we got some fan questions. Let's just jump right into it. Ken Watson, manager, can it be done? Will you be appearing anytime soon with the newly managed UFO wrestling organization?
You mean Evolve, the guys that bought WWE?
No, UFO. Pat
UFO.
Dillon's UFO.
Pat
It's not
Dillon.
Pat Dillon's UFO
Well,
anymore.
but you're right. You're right. It was Pat
I'm just going to
Dillon's
say,
UFO.
Pat Dillon passed the torch, so to
Yeah.
speak. And the young man that's got it is very eager and really wants to make success of it. I can only say this. I'm open. If you'd like to contact me, I'd love to be part of it. Bo Douglas is there.
Yes.
A lot of good stars are on there. Macropolis, my friend, he's there. So, yeah, if there's an invitation, I'd be happy to attend. But as of right now, I can say no.
Okay. Kevin May wants to know, what do you think about your son's retirement from WWE?
There's an old saying that everything comes to an end. And I think that John has realized, and I'm only using my own words, not his.
Right.
He's done a lot in 16, 20 years. He's faced a lot of outstanding athletes.
Yes, he has.
There are a lot more outstanding athletes in the roster. But how much more can you do and where can you go? If you can't operate at that speed you need to, if you can't give that extra 10 miles that you used to give, it's really time to take a look in the mirror and say, how much longer can I really do it and still give you, the fans, what you want? So I think he's made a wise decision.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the last time we'll see John Cena. I don't think we'll see him in a ring ever again.
Right.
I think if you see him, it'll be behind the scenes. I wouldn't, never say you wouldn't see him in the audience.
Right. Nice. All right. Anthony Mark Belkis, you know Anthony, right? He has two questions. What are some of your favorite moments being at APW in Newburyport?
What a setup. I've had a lot of favorite moments there. Joe Moakley was absolutely the best. I wish him all the best, and if he's getting back in the business, he's got my number. I hope he gives me a call. Working with Joe Moakley was outstanding, and the talent that was back there, working with big guns, Jim Sargent,
Yes.
my nemesis, Ed Hunt, Stiff Mike. We had a lot of great stars back there. It was so much fun. I suppose working with Moakley, because Moakley had such great ideas.
Yep.
He always come up with the swerves. Stiff Mike.
Very underrated guy in the New England area. Honestly, like for his wrestling mind.
He has a great mind for this business.
Yes.
And I hope the present owner uses him just for that reason. So he can get these kids and get them in line and get the show together. I had a lot of great moments there. What is my best moment? I don't know. I suppose when I was thrown out of the building by Stiff Mike, and I came back and begged for my position, and we did a good tease with the crowd, and finally I was let back, and we had a lot of fun managing some great wrestling stars there. And one thing I never had the chance to do was go up against big guns, Jim Sargent. I wish I had that opportunity, but that was good.
Big Gun is a great guy.
He's a
great
awesome
guy.
Awesome.
Why do you think APW gets the longevity like the crowd? They always manage to draw a very good crowd there every month after month after month. You don't see that in a lot of places these days.
I don't know how they draw now. I haven't been to an APW show, nor have been asked to work at an APW show for over 2 years. So the last show I attended was very well attended. It seems the roster's all changed.
Yeah.
And I think what he's done is use different talent. And there has to be something said for that.
Right.
And I think that's what energizes his shows and makes it different. And I think that's why he draws the fans. And he's got some crazy ideas when he comes up with, tag team tournaments for the women.
Right.
These types of things have never been done.
Right.
So he has a great product and an unusual way of bringing the people in.
Nice. All right, well, Anthony has a second question.
I take the fifth.
This might be another setup.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is.
If you could pick John's last opponent ever in WWE, who would you pick and why? And then he put, "Thank you, Mr. Cena." Anthony's a very respectful kid.
I understand
Nice
that.
kid.
That's a very difficult question because John's had so many outstanding opponents.
Yeah.
The one person I would not put John Cena up against is The Rock.
Right.
I've had enough of that.
Right.
I really have.
Yep.
I think, when I look back on his career, I think guys like JBL, I think guys like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, unfortunately, I guess can't get back in the ring, but that would be an awesome match. Kurt Angle, where he started.
Right.
My buddy who kicked me in the head, Randy Orton.
I was just going to ask you, what about Randy?
What about Randy Orton? Yep, I would say that would be good.
Yeah.
I would love to see him work another program with Edge. I would not rule out CM Punk.
Right.
So when you ask me to single out one opponent, it's very difficult.
Definitely.
Very difficult.
Thank you, Anthony, for the questions. Adam Luce, good old Adam. I haven't heard from Adam in a while. Did you ever want to run your own promotion?
Yes. Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I came real close to putting together a promotion. And I was told by a kid, "You can't see me." That said, "Dad, you really don't want to do that." Yeah. Professional wrestling was going down rather than up.
Right.
So I abandoned that idea. But we were just talking in the hallway, myself and Phil Leary, my driver now.
Yep.
I don't let him drive anymore. Because every time he drives, we hit snowstorms, rain, blizzard. I think the only thing we haven't hit is a tornado. So I drive now. Phil comes along for the
Phil
ride.
comes for the ride. That's all right.
All right.
We got a one-man audience today, and Phil.
So I said, why don't we think about this? And I'd like to do John Cena Sr.'s All-Star Wrestling.
That'd be cool.
Unfortunately, I would have to use the Elks and Newburyport, and that would be stepping on somebody's toes, I think, although I'm not a believer of that.
Right.
There's always room for two furniture stores on the same street.
Absolutely.
Or find another venue. But I'd love to do it. I have a different vision than most people. I think you need to tell stories because when you tell stories, people come back.
Right.
And you can't have half-winded stories. They've got to be something that's going to last. And I always wanted to promote the women.
Yeah.
I almost did a full women's league.
Wow.
The women are very underrated in this business. They get very little credit for what they do. So yes, I came real close. And would I like to do it? Yeah, I'm really thinking about it.
Nice. It's funny. My whole family, no one's really into wrestling, and my cousins will be like, "I'm surprised you don't run your own shows." And I always go, "You got $5,000 I can have?" And they go, "You mean borrow?" I said, "No, have."
Have.
Because I'm probably going to lose it. At first, to make money, you got to spend money. Anyways, and that's in almost any business.
But I think, when you think about starting your own promotion, you have to think about the following things. It's nice to have the young and upcoming stars, men and women, on the indie circuit. But you always have to think about what puts asses in seats.
Right.
So who do you look at? You take a guy like Tony Atlas.
Yeah.
He can still go, and he still draws. Then you're trying to find your top card. Maybe you got an Enzo Amore. Maybe you get a Mr. Kennedy. You know, but that's how you build your card.
Right.
That's how you bring people in. You have your superstar, you know, even Fandango, now Dirty Dango.
Yep.
Great kid, by the way. I remember way back when I met him. Very respectful.
Right.
Nothing but good words for him. But that's how you make the promotion run. So I think you could do it with 3,000. I think if you did it that way and you brought the right people in and you promoted it as clean professional wrestling,
Right.
I don't think you'd have had a problem.
Nice. And it's work. I mean, I've seen people put asses in the seats, but it takes a lot of work to do it. And not every promotion's willing to do that.
Well, you know, and I'm gonna give you credit on that one, Leo, because they think I got a promotion, people are gonna come. Unless you poster it, unless you get radio publicity, unless you get some news coverage, you know, and then you've got to build your fan base.
Right.
So unless you're going to go out there, and it's like when we do benefit shows, people will say, "Oh, wow, you know, we want to do a benefit show." Well, here's what it's going to cost you. But remember, you've got to sell tickets.
Right.
You've got to advertise it. We just did a Teddy Goods, Live Pro Wrestling. We did a show at the Votech down the western part down there, and I'm saying, wow, you know, New Bedford.
Yep.
Will it sell? Will it go? And the tickets were sparse, but you know what? That was a sold-out venue. Wow. Over 800 people. Cisco, down the beach.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
That'd be close to
That was the
600
one-
people there.
Yep,
Wow,
this weekend,
that's
right?
awesome.
Yeah.
That really is.
So why do you think so many people out there that are promoting just kind of depend on social media and online as their only venue to promote their shows
Right.
and then wonder why they don't succeed?
I think because people rely too heavily on social media. Social media is a good tool, but it's not the begin-all and the end-all. It's a good way to start.
Yeah.
It's like when you cook, you start with the olive oil.
Right.
But if you don't add the other garlic and the basil, you really don't have the finished product. And so they think, I'll do social media. Everybody sees it. Well, you know, not everybody has social media.
Right.
So you've got to go out there and go the extra mile. Get a newspaper article.
Yep.
Give away free tickets.
Yep.
Do a radio show.
Right.
You know, but people don't have that wherewithal or smarts. They think it's automatically going to work.
Off air, we had talked about a guy named Tommy Mack.
Yep.
And Tommy Mack, he doesn't promote many shows, but when he did, he gets 800 people there because he hits it. He hits the newspaper. You know what I mean? He does a lot of advertising.
He's a great
That's
guy.
how you get the people in there.
Yeah, Tommy Mack is a great human being. Nothing but good words for him. And he understands the business.
Right.
And he understands how to make it work.
Yes.
And that's the only way to make it work.
Right.
You know, you can't bake a cake unless you have all the ingredients.
Yep, very true. All right, Andy Miller wants to know, who are your favorite indie wrestlers today? Good question, Andy. There's a lot of good ones
Should
out
I
there
take the
today.
fifth on that one, Dave?
It wouldn't be fair to Andy's question, though.
You know what?
And I know what you're saying. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. This is probably...
Yeah, you know what? I have to say this. I meet a lot of young men and women in that locker room, and I've been around a lot of locker rooms. I guess they're all my favorites. I'm honored and humbled, and I really mean this.
Yep.
People think I'm giving you a spin. I'm really humbled and honored to be allowed to be part of that locker room, to work with these young men and women. I really mean that. You know, I work with some great people. Jenny Thomas, you know, the guy that lost the belt yesterday. These
Yeah,
kids are
gee.
great workers. Little Me and Kathleen.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Brad Baylor.
yeah, even Acapella.
Yeah.
He's a great guy to work with. Teddy Goods.
Yeah.
You know, so who's my favorite? That's very difficult. That's like saying you get 5 children.
Right.
Pick out your favorite.
Right.
I can't.
It's a loaded question.
I can't. Yeah, well, I can't.
It is, but
I've given you some names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Absolutely.
There
All
you
right.
go.
I kind of goes in hand. I used to always ask Leo when he asked for questions. I'd be like, if they could face one opponent, who would it be? And nobody ever wanted to answer that question
Yeah.
because they didn't want
Because
to.
I would always
somebody
say,
else
Dave,
out.
that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
All right. Andy has one more. Who was your favorite wrestler that you were able to manage? It's another loaded question.
You know, that just,
They're all great.
you know, I started out with Gary Gold down there.
Nature Boy.
Nature Boy, Gary Gold. Towards the end, I became the nemesis. Gary stayed the good guy. I became the heel. So we labeled him Gary Old. And that was my shtick with Gary Gold. Great guy to work with.
Yeah.
John Walters, another great guy I managed.
Really good.
We went against Ric Flair with Big Time Wrestling, Tito Santana.
Wow.
So Walters was a great guy to manage and work with. I could go on and on,
Right.
but what do? They're all good.
Right,
Everybody
right.
I've managed so
Yeah.
far.
You gave a couple good
I've been
ones, though.
fortunate and humbled to really manage these people. I've got a young man that Royal Crown Wrestling. I can't think of his name. I'm ashamed to say that, but he's got this hay gimmick. He is. I tell you, this kid's got potential. You're going to see this kid in NXT at WWE. That's how good he is, and I'm honored to manage him. So
That's awesome.
There's so many out there. It's hard to say.
I think one of my favorites that you managed, very back in your early days, when you were up at Salisbury for Knuckles Nelson, when you were managing Kid USA, Jay Gillette.
Oh,
Jay Gillette,
Yeah.
another awesome wrestler.
Yeah.
We tried to get him. He said he was coming back, but I don't think so. I don't think Jay will be. His kid wrestles.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I don't think his kid has been wrestling since
Really?
COVID. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't seen Travis around
No, I
at
haven't
all
seen
anywhere.
Travis, yeah.
And he was very good.
Yeah, he was excellent.
Bigger than his dad, taller than his dad.
Yep.
His
Yep.
dad, Jay was really, really good.
But it's hard. You can't ask a
Right.
manager which the best guy because they're
Right.
all good.
Yep.
They're all good.
All right, Dan Ruckus, what is the best sandwich?
What in the world?
I don't know if he's asking you or if he's asking me.
Leo's the foodie. Leo's the foodie. But if you're asking me what the best sandwich is, you know what? I like the Monster Sub down there in Seabrook. He makes a great Italian, and he makes his own meatballs like you do.
Yes, like me.
And I got to tell you something. That is the best meatball sandwich I've ever had. Are there other sandwiches that I enjoy? Yeah. I go to a lot of sandwich shops. I love pork belly.
Right.
So I have some great pork belly sandwiches up in Maine. So, what is the best? Whatever I believe is the best is good for me.
Right.
What's good for you?
Very true. I'll tell you a good sandwich, Dan. We called it the Big Bird when I worked at this place called Ruth and Leo's in South Boston.
Okay.
It was cranberry sauce, real turkey, and stuffing.
They call it the gobbler.
Yeah, the gobbler or we called it the Big Bird.
I get that up at the
Really
Greenery
good. Yeah.
in Algonquin, Maine.
Yeah.
That's a great sandwich.
Yeah. And you could have it with gravy or without. I chose to go without when I would
Without
eat
the
mine.
gravy?
I
Yeah.
loved extra cranberry. It was really good.
I go to the deli over there, Delicios, I believe it is, in Peabody, and I love eggplant.
Yeah.
They have an eggplant veal cutlet sandwich.
Nice.
Very nice. All Italian,
Yeah.
super. But I have so many.
oh.
That's why I look like I look.
Now, with the eggplant, was it round or was it long?
Long.
That's
and it
the
was
way to go.
real veal.
Yes.
And that's the key. No pounded pork.
Yep.
Real veal.
Nice.
So
Excellent.
many places these days with the veal and even the chicken, like you ask for a chicken cutlet and they give you the chicken fingers cut up. I'm like, that's not a chicken
Yeah,
cutlet
no, I know,
sandwich.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Oh.
Everything is chicken finger sandwiches now when you ask for a chicken
Yeah,
cutlet
it's
or
fast,
whatever.
easy to do. That's why.
Yep, exactly. All right, Ed Hunt.
Uh-oh.
What, buddy?
He says, "You think you're tough, John? I can be in Nashua in 30 minutes. I don't think he can be here in 30 minutes.
Eddie
I think
Baby.
he's a little old to get here in 30 minutes."
Eddie Baby, you've been promised me fried clams since the day we started at APW. So I'll tell you what, you get in that car. There's 38 minutes and 54 seconds left on the screen. I'll take my jacket off. We'll use this right here as the ring. And let's see. You get here. You can ref. We'll have a double referee.
Yeah.
If I win, I get the clams. If I lose,
I get the
I'll have to
clams.
admit you're the best in the business, which you're not, which you are already. You're a good friend. We go back a long way. So, Ed, all I can say is, if you want some, come get some.
Nice. Ed is a good guy. Well, we got another little cameo from Brickhouse Baker. Just tell him I said hello, and me and him still need lunch together.
You know what, Brickhouse? We've been after this for how long?
Really?
There's a great guy to work for.
Yeah.
I worked with his promotion. His sons were absolutely fantastic. We had a situation, we were working for Chris Blackheart,
Yep.
Showcase Pro Wrestling, where it was him and his sons against me, Gary Gold, and some other folks. And it was ended up where they had to eat dog food. But we got, and this is again, smart promoting, working the storyline. We got 9 shows out of that.
Wow.
9 shows,
That's
9
awesome.
months worth. It was awesome. Cheating, stealing,
Yeah.
it was just great. So Brickhouse, come on down. I'll buy you a sandwich, a lobster sandwich up in Maine, or I'll come to New Bedford where you have the best seafood in the world. Love you, buddy.
Nice. JP Griffin, can you tell us about your beginning in pro wrestling? I don't think a lot of people realize how far you go back. Thank you, JP.
I go back a long way. I will say this, I'm second generation. People think that I was first and then John Jr. came in second. No, I'd gone through divorce. John was already in the business. I was depressed. Knuckles Nelson was looking for a ring announcer.
Nice.
I went down, I tried out, and Knuckles said, great set of pipes. I'd like to use you, but I got somebody. So I said, Knuckles, not a problem. I got somebody else I can. No. He said, sit down. I'm looking for a heel manager. Nice. That's where it started at Star Wars Wrestling. And I'll tell you, that was the beginning of Johnny Fabulous.
Nice.
And it's been going and going and going ever since. So now I use Johnny Fabulous and John Cena Sr. And I've just been having a lot of fun with it. I guess maybe 14 years now.
Nice. It's a lot of fun.
That's where you were managing Kid USA against Big Gun.
Yes.
Yep. I also had Freight Train down there. He was a great guy to work with. You know, I don't know if he doesn't wrestle now. I guess his wife is Kia. Ultimate Kong there, which was great.
Okay.
She was super to work with. But it's been a lot of fun. And I actually did wrestle in the ring. Now, at my age, unfortunately, it catches up with you. I still do an FU here and there. I'll do a match, but if I do, I'm in for two, I'm out. If I've got to take the bump, I'll take the bump, and that's it. Yep.
Nice. All right. Greg Jones Isaacson. He's the sign guy. I don't know if you know Greg.
I just made some signs for me.
Oh, he's incredible.
The guy that makes the signs?
Yeah.
I should have brought it with me.
He is awesome.
Yep.
He says, great job announcing at Reunion Wrestling, Dave.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
For Mr. Cena, what has been your favorite in-ring moment? Thanks, Greg.
I guess my favorite in-ring moment is when I main evented, I believe it was Raw, when I went against Randy Orton.
Yeah.
In all my years, I never expected I would be the main event. Raw.
Yeah.
That is it.
You got everything with that. You got the Jumbotron entrance and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get music. No music. They just let me walk down the ramp. But I will tell you, that was the highlight of my life, and I worked with an ultimate professional, which of course was Randy Orton.
Right.
Did I really trust him all the way? No. After that kick in the head, it was like, but I'll tell you, that was the highlight of my life, and that's probably what will live with me for a long, long time.
Nice. Greg made a sign at a show for yesterday, and it was for Brad Baylor. Do you remember the show Home Improvement, Tim Allen show?
I do.
Remember the older son, the blonde one? Not the Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yep.
But he had a big head of that kid, and he was showing it and I thought that was just incredible. Greg is very creative with his signs.
Talented. He made one for me, because every time I go now, Teddy Goods, his sound guy, just developed a song for me.
Nice.
So when I do Matt Cardona's show, August 18th at the Kowloon, when I come out, it's always like, John Cena's dad, John Cena's dad. So he made a sign with musical notes, John Cena's dad, a picture of me, and a picture of the boy, but the picture's really not there. It's just like a little cutout. So I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble with anybody. So you can't see him. I can't get in trouble with anybody, I don't think. So,
Greg is great. 'Cause I had him on the show and he brought me my picture of my head. The thing is gigantic.
Yep, he does great work.
Really great work. All right, last question. Robert DeMore, Bobby D. What was the first match John Cena Sr. saw his son at WWE? Do you remember the first match?
I do.
You do?
I do.
I think I know what it is too.
You have to say it. It's Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ruthless aggression.
Right. I got a phone call.
I love that.
And John was on the end of the line, and he said, are you going to watch TV tonight? I said, what do you mean? Are you going to watch wrestling? I said, yeah. He said, I just want you to know, I had my hair cut, and I think you ought to watch the show tonight. And that's the first time, because I saw him at UPW.
Right.
I saw him at OVW. And then he said, I think you want to watch this. And it was the first time I saw my son in a WWE ring wearing boots.
Yeah.
Because I have, hopefully WWE someday will want memorabilia. I have the 101 USA spinner belt, but I also have his prototype autographed boots.
Nice.
So I saw the boots before, and then he went to the jorts and the
Yeah.
sneakers. So that's when I first saw him wrestle.
That's awesome. That was a great moment, too. I mean, I love it. What makes you think you got what it takes to get in the ring with me?
Yep.
Ruthless
Ruthless
aggression.
aggression.
Bang! And
Slap
then he
across
bops
the
him.
face.
That was awesome.
That was a great match.
It really was.
That would be, again, if you want to have an ending match, I thought for sure when Kurt Angle did his,
Right.
it would have been Cena and Angle.
Yeah.
I think that's who he should have wrestled,
Right.
not Austin Theory.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. That was really blown. It really was. Well,
I'm not going to say it.
Well, seeing that we're talking about WWE, I just wanted to bring up this past WrestleMania was the first WrestleMania without Vince McMahon. Dave actually was the one that mentioned it to me a little while ago before we went on here that I guess Vince showed up and he wasn't allowed in the building. It's just crazy. I've been a fan for over 50 years, and I never, ever, ever thought I'd see wrestling without Vince McMahon. I just never thought of it.
Everything comes to an end.
Yes.
So I just think that when you think of wrestling, you'll always think of the man that did the impossible. And he did, because nobody thought he would succeed. Vince McMahon will always be Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Yeah.
I have the utmost respect for him. People can say what they want. People can think what they want. You know what? We all have skeletons in our closet.
Absolutely.
We all screw up in life. Unfortunately, when you get that high up in the ladder, the screw up comes even harder and faster. So to bar somebody, to allow somebody not to be there or in the building, you know what? I have to question that.
Right.
You know, so I guess I'm going to stop before I get myself in trouble.
Okay. All right, so let's just talk about some topics in wrestling. How about the Bloodline story angle that's been going on now for what, 2 years?
Yeah.
And what did you think about bringing in Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf?
I work with him. He's a good guy. I think that was a real surprise.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be good. But between you and I'm tired of the Bloodline. I think we've had enough. I think that it's been a great storyline. I think it was a brainchild of Roman Reigns.
Yep.
Great individual, by the way. As you all know, I was not a fan of Roman Reigns when he started.
Okay.
I think they did him an injustice. They should have brought him in as a tweener.
Right.
Turned him heel, then turned him face. That's where he belonged. That's what just happened. That's why he's over. But to let the Bloodline go the way it's going now, I think it's gone a little bit too long, and people are going, oh, but there's always another twist. There's always another turn. How many twists and turns can you have before you and I sit back and go, I can predict what's going to happen now? You know, the setup's got to be for Reigns to come back so Dwayne Johnson can come back and have his little to do.
Right.
You know, I think it's a great idea, but I think it's run its course.
And Paul Lee could be a babyface. Who would ever thought Paul Lee would be a babyface, honestly?
Paul Heyman is the best of the best. You know, when people ask me, they say, you know, you do a good job at managing. And I'm very humbled by that comment. How did you pick this up? I watched every single tape there was of managers.
Yep.
I work with Lou Albano.
Yeah.
You know, you get guys like Bobby the Brain Heenan, the Grand Wizard.
Yep.
You take a look at Vicky Guerrero, probably one of the best because she didn't have to say two words.
Nope.
All she did was come out and then she said that one word.
Yep.
Excuse me, or two words.
Yep.
And they were
It's
on.
true.
Then Paul Heyman, if you notice, the best, he does it all with facial expressions.
Yeah, exactly.
And when he does grab the stick, he grabs you. You can't. You wait on every single word he says.
Yep.
So one of the best in the business. I think he'll go down. He already has gone down in wrestling history because he's in the Hall of Fame. But you know, we'll see what happens with the Bloodline. Like I say, I think it's time now to kind of break it up. And I think once Roman Reigns come back, you might see that.
But I think he's going to be a face when he comes back.
He'd definitely be a face.
You know?
There's no question.
And it's going to be funny to see Paul Lee as a face, though. That's just nuts.
I'm not so sure that you're going to see Paul
Really?
Heyman as a face. I really am not. Even though they put him through a table,
Right.
you never know in this business how it's going to work.
True.
So maybe they set him up to be a face.
Yep.
Maybe they set him up to be a tweener. We'll see.
I
Right.
think Paulie's a big reason why that storyline has continued to be so successful. I mean, even with that recent angle when he got put on the table,
Yeah.
you know, he did the thing. He was so stressed out, he didn't sleep, and he literally did not
Yeah.
sleep the night before, so it would actually show on TV that he
Great,
didn't sleep. You know?
great. And when he went through that table, you could see.
Yeah.
He was like, "Wow, I've been through tables."
Yeah.
but not like that.
Right. And you had said a couple seconds ago about the facials that he was making. Every single time he would steal a segment just with a look. Just with a look.
My name is Paul Heyman, and boy, that was it. That's
Yep.
all it took. Yeah, he's great. I have nothing but good words for that man.
Nice.
I was honored to meet him.
Well, tonight I'm looking forward to seeing she's back, Mommy, in the Judgment Day. I'm looking forward to seeing what she has in store for Dirty Dom. What do you guys think?
You know what? Who knows? Who knows? This thing with, Dominic Mysterio, who, by the way, has become a real great professional wrestler.
Yeah, he has.
He comes from the best,
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio. But you know what? Wrestling's funny.
Yeah.
Wrestling's funny. So Mommy's back. Dominic's going to get his upcomings,
Yeah.
maybe. And I think if he does get it, it ain't going to be pretty. So that's all I can say about that.
All right. Let's move on to AEW. MJF was gone for a while. Now he's back. What do you guys think? I mean, do you guys think he's going to go win the championship again?
I personally think he probably will. I'm not a big fan of his.
No?
Like, I don't get all the hype. I don't
Really?
know why. I just don't
I think he's really good.
You know, I just think it's kind of just, and I think what got him over was that whole, is he staying, is he going? Now
Right.
that's kind
Right.
of over with, I don't
Okay.
think it's going to, I could be wrong.
No, I hear you.
I've been to quite a few AEW shows.
Yeah.
If you notice, the first time I went to an AEW show, everybody was saying I was going to be in part of the show. I was backstage. None of that is true.
Right.
I was there as a fan. MJF has an aura about him, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but he has a way of bringing people in. He's great on the stick.
Yep.
And if you see what he did to Garcia, that was something that I don't think you or I ever expected. I knew as soon as he raised his hand in the middle of the ring, there was either a punch or a ball shot that was coming. He got it. But the thing is, I think he went too far. There was no need of beating the boy, the man, I'm sorry, Garcia, beating that young man the way he beat him down. Didn't have to do that, because as soon as he turned on him and started whacking him, he was already finished. See, the fans were ready to kill him when he walked down to the ring?
Right.
That's good. MJF stayed with AEW, and I really believe there was a situation of, is he going or is he coming?
Right.
I think he stayed with them because he's got a lot more growing to do.
Yep.
And if he went to WWE, I really don't think he'd have been the sensation he thought he would be.
Right.
When you go to WWE, it's a whole different ball game.
It is.
The inmates don't run the asylum.
Right.
And I'm not saying that they do at AEW,
Right.
because they don't. But you don't do that.
Yep.
And so his style, his verboso, if I can use that word, when he talks, when he drops those F-bombs and
Yep.
swears, that just doesn't go.
Right.
So he would need to be retrained all over again. I think he's where he belongs.
Yeah.
And I think with you, yes, he's going to take the championship. Will he beat Will Ospreay at the next match? I certainly hope not.
Right.
I certainly hope not, because I think Ospreay needs to teach MJF a lesson in a storyline. Or if MJF does take that belt,
Yeah.
I would say Swerve Strickland ought to watch out.
Very good. Nice. All right. Well, you just brought him up. Will Ospreay, who's very talented. Very, very talented. But I don't know, man. I just don't like the way he attacks, like on the mic with the attacking the WWE, saying things like, oh, Triple H is only there because he's sleeping with the boss's daughter. Not that she's a beautiful woman. You know what I mean? And who wouldn't want to be with a beautiful woman? You know?
Go ahead, dude.
I think he's really depending on, that comment is something that's 20 years ago that was,
Right.
A little bit more maybe valid, but now it's like they've been married for 20 years, they have kids, they got a family,
Right.
and he's not,
Yep.
he's obviously there because of the family connection is what got
Right.
him there.
Of course.
But he's got a great mind. I think since he's been kind of a lot more in charge of the wrestling side of things, he put a fresh perspective that like we said, we can never picture WWE without Vince, but with Triple H is kind of having a fresh mind. Vince had got up there in age, and he kind of brought some ideas. And I think he's kind of really made it an even more interesting product than it had been.
I agree.
I have to disagree about the Will Ospreay comment. I think it was well timed and well done. You can't mouth off on this side and not expect somebody on this side to come back or retaliate. Maybe the way he retaliated didn't sit well with people. But you know what? If you got to go to the dance, somebody's got to pay the band.
Right.
And all he did was, after what Triple H said about AEW, he just came back and made a statement that everybody was thinking.
Right.
Just because he said it doesn't make it wrong. And all three of us have been in this business a long time. And when you stop and think, you go, wait a minute, this is what this business is built on. So we said something. You know what? The only reason you're where you are, I don't think we needed the gesture.
Right.
Okay? The comment would have been fine. But as soon as he did that gesture, that kind of made it a little bit different. And I think the other thing you have to remember is that in WWE, you have a closed mic.
Right.
So it means you say what they want you to say.
Right.
At AEW, it's an open mic.
Yeah.
And guys like Ospreay, Chris Jericho, MJF, Swerve Strickland, they can say whatever they want when they want.
Right.
So, again, I don't discredit him for that comment. I think it was well-timed. It was appropriate. I just don't think we needed the gyration to go with it. And he made his point. You can't screw with somebody that's a machine gun because you never know when I'm going to fire back. And if you remember, Ospreay, after that comment was made, came back and did apologize.
Oh, did? I didn't even know that.
He basically said, I said it. It was taken out of context, but you know what? Maybe I was a little bit overboard. But I say, no, you weren't.
Okay.
This is what it's built on.
Kid is very talented.
You want heat? You got heat.
Right.
And Ospreay, if you notice now, has been being beat up.
Right.
He's not I'm the Superman. So, and I think WWE is very sorry they didn't take Ospreay.
That's the one guy I think that they really are kicking themselves out of everyone that AEW signed. I think it's that one.
Oh, yeah. There's no question about it.
Very, very talented kid.
Yeah.
But do you think, because I see this a lot in AEW, they tend to bring WWE up a lot, and I think it almost waters them down because it's why not talk about what's going on in your promotion instead of WWE did this, WWE did that. Tony Khan sending out tweets about WWE. There's no reason for it. It just draws attention to the other company. I feel concentrate on AEW.
I agree with your comment, but the only thing I can say is it's like two kids in a sandbox. WWE wants to go all over AEW. Right. They're not a real wrestling league. I'm only going to say this, and I love WWE. I follow it. I look at it.
Yeah.
And I like AEW. I follow it. I look at it. But you know what? You can't do what you're doing. Neither one. It's like you can't play in my sandbox. When you start slandering me, I'm not going to sit there and take it. Although the wiser of the two would be, beat me up all you want.
Right.
I'm just going to show you what I got. And that would have been the better way to retaliate it. But you have to understand the two individuals that are playing this game, Paul Levesque and Tony Khan. Tit for tat. Right. It brings me right back to the WWC wars.
But I don't think
true.
WWE sees AEW as competition, in all honesty.
I'll tell you what, I think
they should.
I think that AEW is competition for the WWE. And I started to allude to it. I remember when WWE said they won't last more than 90 days.
Yeah. And they've been over 5 years.
Right. And the other thing they said was they have no talent. Right. I tell you, some of them...
That was not true.
Right. And so the problem is WWE has to keep themselves at a certain level. Tony Khan needs to improve the product a little bit.
Right.
There's no question. He's gone from here, I think, down to here. He's got to go back to where he was.
Right.
Because there, he was a real threat to the WWE. You see what I'm saying? So until that happens, don't shoot AEW too short. Don't shoot WWE too short.
Right.
WWE, their business is getting TV spots.
Right.
Netflix, that's a $7, $8, $9 billion deal for them.
Yeah.
Happy, joy.
Right.
So remember what direction they're headed in and how they're headed.
Very good.
Yeah, do you
All
think,
right.
bringing that up, do you think there's a lot of talk with the Netflix deal that they're going to go away from the family friendly and kind of go back to Attitude Era?
Yes, I do.
style?
I think because
I
there's
think
not
it's
going to
smart.
be any censorship.
Yeah.
They're
It
gonna
really
go
is
back
smart.
To, yeah, they'll be back to the Attitude Era. But then the question becomes, will people really want to see that? Because typically, right now, when you look at AEW, they're giving you that.
Right. Right.
You know, so my question is, if they're giving it to you and people aren't watching it, what's wrong?
Right.
So you can't go back to that old stuff, you know, that Vince thought was funny. The girls in the mud,
Right.
the kissing. It just made no sense. Made no sense at all. So you got to be careful what you do.
Right. I just think wrestling's just obviously not as popular as it was, 20 years ago. I mean, there's a lot of entertainment out there.
Well, go ahead, Dave.
I think there's just a lot of it's a different time.
Yeah.
I think in the recent few years, just even on the independent side
Right.
and WWF and AEW, it's kind of revitalized. And like I said, I don't think WWE always sees AEW as competition, but they need that competition
Right.
because without it, look at how stale, product can become for a while. I think
Right.
having that, out there, and I just think, I think they should, continue on that path they're going. But I think WWE is going to alienate if they start going to that, back to that,
Right.
risque stuff. Yeah, it's on Netflix, it's uncensored, but what happens to that audience now that of the 12-year-old kids, the 8-year-old kids? Like now these
True.
families are like, I'm not taking my, my kids to that anymore because,
Right.
No, I agree with you.
and especially now, like in the Attitude area, it wasn't so much, but now with the huge cancel culture that's out there, I can't see how well that's going to really go over.
You
if
would
they-
really have to really think of what you're going to really put on the TV because, like you said, cancel culture. They want to cancel everybody for anything.
Oh, yeah. Well, Netflix won't cancel WWE. I'll tell you that.
Well, that'll be
that's
good.
That's an ironclad contract.
Right.
But I have to agree with Dave. You got to think about the content.
Right.
And how far you're willing to go. AEW with this Tony Storm thing and the kissing with the girls.
Yeah.
Look, you know what? I think that's a little too edgy.
Right.
And I'm no prude. Please, I'm no prude. I've had a lot of matches, where we've had that. But
Right.
I don't think you really need that type of situation. So I think it remains to be seen what's really going to happen here. Professional wrestling has come to an all-time low because they stopped telling stories,
Yes.
number one. When you and I and Dave can sit here as a fan and said, I'm going to tell you who's going to win. I know the outcome.
Yeah.
The bloodline, it's going to dissolve. Solo Sakai is going to get dumped on. He's an ex-guy to go. We can all sit here and do this, and that all stems back to the man we talked about, Vincent Kennedy
Yeah.
McMahon, who changed it from, I don't have to do this if it's entertainment. It's entertainment. It's staged, but it's athletic.
Right.
Okay, so there's the first drawback.
Yeah.
The second thing becomes we didn't have storylines. I remember as a kid going to the Boston Garden, and you'd see a storyline go for 6 months, 7 months.
Right.
And we look at the bloodline, 2 years.
Yeah.
It's getting stale
Right.
because we're tired of the pudding now. So either got to beef it up, change it, or do something different. But you look at the storylines they have, that's why you've got this problem.
And I think,
Absolutely.
we, like you were saying, the storylines back then, going back to the 80s, 70s, they lasted a few months, but they weren't all over television either. You
Right.
had to go to, the arenas to see it. Now it's every week on television because it's really, at least on the WWE side, I feel like it's all about the television product now. They're not overly concerned with arenas, even though they've started recently selling them out, which is
Right.
why they've kind of got rid of the screens and stuff because they want to make more room for seats. But I still think they're more focused on being a TV product because that's where the money is.
Right. Right.
I would agree with you 100% on that.
What do you think about Carmelo Hayes getting brought up to the main roster?
You know what? When you get the best of the best, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I think that's a good move.
Yeah,
I
me
really
too.
think it's a good move. And there again, if we want to have people watch professional wrestling, we've got to have the storylines,
Yep.
but we need the people to tell it.
Right.
And again, here I go, get in trouble. We don't need the stars of the past to tell the story of the present or the future.
Right.
An appearance here and there is just fine.
Yep.
Here I go. Get ready. You're gonna get calls. I think Dwayne Johnson screwed over Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. It should have been their fight, not
Right.
not Dwayne Johnson's.
Right.
He shouldn't have been involved in that.
Hardly.
No, not at
It
all.
was terrible, terrible. But
Could have done anything at WrestleMania, and it still would have been fine. People would have been happy to see him involved. But to have him in that storyline, you're absolutely right. Like, it totally ruined the focus that should have been.
yeah, it should have been on Reigns and Cody. They should have had the banter.
Yep.
And now what's going to happen is he's going to come back to fight Cody Rhodes.
Yep.
Whoa. You know what? People will go to see it. I think they'll go. But my whole theory is why?
Right.
Because you know who's going to win. It ain't going to be Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Right.
And believe me when I say this, from the bottom of my heart, I love you dearly, Dwayne. You're the best. You're great at what you do.
Right.
But it's time to realize there are other superstars that can go, if you know what Cody Rhodes is cooking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think we got to look at that kind of stuff. And the young men and women today, Carmelo Hayes, great.
Yeah.
Great. And there's some more down there
Yep.
that need to come to the top. Look at my buddy Tommaso Ciampa.
Him and Johnny Gargano winning the Raw Tag Team titles. That was an amazing moment.
Let me tell you, unbelievable, those two kids.
Yep.
I remember working with Tommaso Ciampa at Chaotic Wrestling. Chaotic Wrestling. I remember the day he waived his contract.
Yeah.
And, I'm saying, I hope he understands the business.
Right.
Because he came and went. And then he went back understanding the business.
Right.
Nothing but great words for Tommaso Ciampa or Gargano. Either one of them great.
It's great. It was great to see them win the title.
It should, yeah.
So we only got a little over 10 minutes. Dave came up with this thing. I was like, well, what are we going to do? And he said, well, why don't we play the name game with wrestling promotions that you worked for?
Yes, we set you up again, John.
Yeah.
How about if I take the fifth?
How about, I'm just going to throw one out there, Whaling City Wrestling.
Brickhouse Baker. Let me tell you, I've had some great times with Brickhouse Baker. Brickhouse has a mind for the business.
Yeah, he does.
And you never knew when you walk into that locker room, there was a card on the wall. And then he'd come down and say, well, everything's subject to change, and I'm changing it. And I'd go and say, what do you want me to do tonight? Whatever you want. No, that's not what I need to say. But that's Brickhouse. That's Brickhouse. That's Mike Baker. Great guy to work for. I'm sorry he's out of the business, but he was great. That was fun. Whaling was great.
Awesome. How about you brought him up earlier, Big Time Wrestling.
Steve Perkins and Terry Allen.
Yeah.
I started with them way, way back. I haven't done anything with them lately. I'd love to do something with them again. But there is an organization that I think is as close as you can come outside of like Teddy Goods and other, that's structured.
Right.
That when you walk in, it's, hey, how are you? How you doing? But it was there because people wanted to wrestle and he needed to tell a story.
Right.
Great outfit to work for. Great. What do you think? You've been there.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Steve, I think, has one of the most underrated minds for wrestling. Like,
Yep.
he's really, he came up through the early days, worked with some other independent promoters that, might have had some questionable.
Knows how to put asses in the seats,
But he
too.
knows what to do. And they haven't just stayed in New England. They've gone to
Yeah.
the Carolinas and run
Yeah.
shows. They've gone to
New
California,
York.
So it's like, and they draw. No matter where they go,
Everywhere.
they always draw a crowd because just like you were talking about earlier, they put in the effort with the TV ads, the newspaper ads, the postering.
And he always does a great job.
Yep.
I mean, we had Ric Flair there. They were selling tickets for standing room only.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bret Hart, Sting, same thing.
We went, remember that when we went to...
We went to see it. It was the SAT, the Briscoe brothers, and the Hardy Boys all
Yes.
there. Place
Same thing.
was jammed.
Couldn't get in there. You couldn't.
Standing
Unbelievable.
room only tickets then, too.
Incredible show.
He's a great promoter. He has a great mind. Terry Allen's a great human being.
Yep.
Only thing I say to Terry is
Stay out of the ring.
No.
That's what I was saying. I'm
Well,
just joking.
that too, but you don't have to bleed at every match.
Right.
Every day. I'm
Oh,
telling you,
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
juice again,
Yeah.
gonna juice again. Man, how much blood you got in that body? Because I think you were.
I used to always feel bad. He always poor Benny Jux. It was you used to get stuck.
Benny
wrestling.
Jux. I remember
Benny's
him. There's
awesome.
another great guy.
Yeah.
He's a great wrestler, Benny Jux. I think one time I kind of pissed him off because he kind of looked at me. He was coming at me. I go, oh, shit, this is not good. But Benny Jux is, you don't want to mess with that kid. No. But he's great.
I was at a UFO show.
Denny
and it had-
Miles.
Denny Miles, another.
Oh, another one, yeah. And it had Brian Malonis versus Chris Dickinson. And I looked at my buddy Darryl and said, who's going to follow that? You know who did? Benny and Alec Price. And they stole the show. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure they were wrestling at the Bell Time Club a lot and all that, practicing and all that. But the match was unbelievable. Alec Price is killing it
When
right
you put
now.
Benny Jux in the ring against a good opponent,
Yeah.
Benny will make anybody look good, and he'll give you a match that you can't.
Yep.
I mean, he's just great. He's great.
Incredible. All right. How about RWA? You work for T Phoenix?
Who?
T? No? Renegade Wrestling Alliance? Yeah, it's T, right?
I think so. I don't even know that one.
Never worked for them.
All right. How about Pro Wrestling Super Show? Ryan Drew.
Never worked for him.
No, you never worked for Ryan either. All right. Well, how about Dan Marati and the MWF? I know you worked there because I saw you there.
That was a tragedy.
Yes.
That was a tragedy.
Good guy. Real good guy.
42 years old.
Loved wrestling, man.
He had a big heart.
Yeah.
Very tragic. He had some situations with Dan is you just had to tell him to grow up. You don't bring your dirty laundry on the screen.
Right.
You know, the thing with Tony Atlas, the thing with Marty Jannetty.
Yep.
When Marty was under the weather and he put that on, I said, why would you humiliate and disgrace a human being like
Right.
that? Or with the thing with Atlas, that's between you and him.
Right.
But when it came to putting a show together, when it came to caring about some of the older wrestlers, Dan was there. We did a lot with the Iron Sheik. I did a lot of DVDs with him, Holly Race, Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
We had the Boogeyman, and Dan just had a great mind for the business. He was, as you know, his real name was Dan Frangelo.
Yeah.
And he used to work for WWE.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had a
Did
shot.
you know that, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, you
yeah.
did.
He had
I
a
didn't
shot
know
sent,
that.
remember?
Yeah.
We won't tell him why he's
Well,
not there.
Yeah, there's so. I mean,
You can tell it if you want.
I'm not going to tell the story because
You can tell me off air. It's all
I'll
good.
tell you off
yeah,
air
it's all
because
good.
it's not.
I liked him. So, I mean, I wouldn't want anything
So
bad
he was
to
a
say.
friend of mine for many years, and then one day he just, for some, and I still to this day, because I never got to ever talk to him to find out why, he just turned on me and just, went after my family. And I always hoped, we
Sorry to hear
tried. I
that.
had a friend that also passed, Jackal, that tried to get us together and
Jackal,
try to fix
great
it.
man.
And it just never got there. And I'm sorry that, I was still devastated when I heard he passed.
Right.
Way too young to pass away. Great mind. He, if you asked Dan about something from 1984 at the Boston Garden, Dan would be able to recite that whole card to you, like from mine.
Really?
Like, just great mind for the business and very tragic loss, regardless of,
Definitely.
That's the side I'm talking about. The side that
Yeah.
was a boy, instead of being a man.
Yeah.
And if he found a little niche, I didn't like the way he would pick on people sometimes that were challenged.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I didn't appreciate the fact that he'd bring personal matters. I walked out 3 times.
Wow.
I did. I said, you know what?
I mean,
I'm
without
not gonna
going
be part of
into it
this.
on the air, remember the Terry Reynolds incident? That happened?
I get a phone call from a woman who she said, you got to get down there and straighten this out right away. Why? And then you know the whole story behind that.
Yeah.
Iron Sheik was there, Doc was there. I go down, I'm shooting the breeze with Dan. Dan's not going to do this. She's going to sue him. Just give her the money and let her go.
Yeah.
Right.
Write it off. It was a misunderstanding. And then when I found out the whole story, there were 2 other people involved in that were supposed to pick her up. The names begin with a B. They left a text message. Unfortunately, nobody knew she saw that. And that's caused a huge issue.
Right.
But again, Dan, God rest his soul, and he was a good friend. I loved him dearly. But he would always have this thing to humiliate, make fun of, ridicule.
Right.
And that was the wrong thing to do. I'm not part of that. I've never been part of it, and I don't like it, and I won't work with anybody or for anybody that does that.
Right. And there's been a lot of other people that have passed away from the New England independent wrestling scene. I mean, AJ Matrano. Another one. Great guy, man.
Is he?
Yeah, he's gone.
He had leukemia, I think.
Yes. Yes.
I
What
remember
a
him.
nice guy he was, though.
His sister and family.
So nice.
He was a great kid.
Yeah.
Big time wrestling.
Yeah. Now his sister goes out with Bo.
Oh, really? Bo Douglas?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I remember AJ Matrano. We had a lot of fun together.
Oh, he was
a lot of laughs.
He was a funny guy. He really was a nice guy. You know him, didn't you, Dave?
Yeah. I actually a couple times because I'd be part of like Steve's ring crew and
Right.
there wouldn't always be room for everybody in the ring truck, so AJ actually was like, "Oh, you can ride with me." Made sure I had
He's
a way
a
there
great
and back.
guy.
Always,
God rest your soul,
great
buddy.
conversation on the ride down and back.
Then another guy like DC Dillinger, he passed the same day as my stepdaughter, and a year before that, my brother had passed away, August 14th.
I did
A lot of
with
people
DC
passed
Dillinger.
away that day.
DC Dillinger was a great worker,
Yeah.
understood the business, but I think he had some problems. No?
Probably. I mean,
I love that kid.
again,
Right.
like you said, everybody's got that.
Yeah, but he
skeleton in
was a
the
great
closet, you
kid,
know.
and he understood the business, and he gave you a show and a half.
Yeah.
Great.
He could get you to hate him without saying a word.
Right.
Without saying it, just a look.
Yep, he was a great guy.
He really was. Now, how about let's talk about someone that's doing great things in the wrestling business. That is a lot. How about George Carroll?
George Carroll.
So he was always the one that traveled with DC and
Right.
Eddie
Yeah.
Edwards.
Right.
They were kind of.
Yeah, and Sean Gorman.
I remember they came to one UFO show, the four of them all dressed in the same outfits. Like,
Really?
It was so funny. Like,
I don't doubt that. They were best friends, though. And
Good guys.
Matty
Always-
Almeida was with
always
them,
good,
too.
Yeah, always good to me. I know,
Yeah.
sometimes I think they irk people the wrong way sometimes, but never, personally, I never hate
If they irked him, they did it on purpose. No, really, though. That's how they were.
The wrestling business is the funniest business in the world.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get when you get there.
Right.
They could smile at you today and stab you tomorrow. And I don't mean that literally stab you,
Right.
verbally,
Right.
in the ring or whatever. So it's a great business. I love it. When it's in your blood, it's in your blood. You look at me, how old I am, and people wonder why I'm still in there.
Right.
I'm still in it because I love it. When the good Lord doesn't allow this 80-year-old body to keep going, then I guess that's when it's time to stop. So I love the business. I love the people I work with. And every single fan out there, regardless of who those people are in the ring, should say thank you. Because I don't think you do because you work with it. You do because you've been there and worked with it. Those young men and women put their bodies and their lives on the line every time they do a show.
They do.
They think, oh, it's fake. Let me tell you something. I've been where it isn't fake.
Right.
Spider was an example of that. I've seen
Quirk,
people
what a nice kid he
crack.
was.
Yeah, but you see,
Yeah.
so
Just bought his first house.
so you see, thank God for professional wrestling. I'm glad to be part of it. I hope everybody loves it and gives these people the respect they need.
Nice. Well, Messina, thank you for coming on again.
It's an honor, Leo. Thank you so much. I
Dave,
appreciate it.
Always
Thank you.
awesome to
David,
see
it's
you, my
always an honor.
friend.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
But thank you again, and we're out, guys. Peace. Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe. That's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.